Hey everyone, serotonin. We're going back to Coney Island for a sec. I didn't realize until I had started actually watching my own video, because I tend to just kind of do this stuff. And it's sort of like going live, sort of like DJing again. And suddenly I'm like in the middle of doing this sort of live recording, and sometimes I find out stuff as I'm doing it. So one of the things that I didn't realize before I started doing the recording was that this elephant was actually a hotel, and it was turned into a brothel, apparently. So I just wanted to go back to this. It was called the Elephant Hotel, the Elephantine Colossus, or the Elephant Hotel. And because the pictures that I showed of it before didn't, I couldn't really see what I'm seeing here, which is all these windows. And yeah, apparently it was a brothel. And we have here the strange history of Old Coney Island's Elephant Hotel turned brothel. And I do believe that the controllers, the people that took over all of the Freemasonry that they just walked into, enjoyed using the thing for the opposite of what it was intended. So I don't know what the original intention of the hotel would have been, or I mean the elephant. Who actually could ever know? But anyway, very interesting that it was a brothel of all places on Coney Island. So you take your kids to Coney Island and go on a bunch of rides and then go to the brothel. Now, the other thing that I find very creepy about this is the kid in me thinks this is the coolest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. So that just really creeps me out. So let's have a quick look at this. Tin hotel for prostitutes shaped like an elephant? Was there ever such a place? Yeah, let's not. I'm really uninterested in hearing from this guy. But anyway. So the of course the um the hotel went up in flames on September 27th, 1896. So there you go. Of course. Now, another interesting thing that I wanted to mention as well is that when the Dreamland was wiped out in 1911, I want you to just, so $3 million loss in 1911. The most disastrous fire in the history of Coney Island occurred today. It said Dreamland was completely wiped out. So in 1911, they managed to get the entire place, okay? Dreamland, which was absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So Coney Island suffered the worst fire disaster, and this is what's very interesting, is this is apparently a retelling of the actual article of the day. Coney Island suffered the worst fire disaster of its history early today. Dreamland, the largest of the amusement parks, was wiped out, and about 4 blocks adjoining, covered with booths, restaurants, hotels, moving picture theaters, and resorts of various types, were destroyed. The fire broke out at 2 a.m., of course it did, and was not under control until 3.5 hours later. The loss will amount to between 2 and 3 million, and about 200 buildings were burned, and about 2,000 people, concessionaries and employees, were turned into the streets homeless and penniless. No lives were lost, of course. The burned area represents nearly a third of the entire amusement city. Amusement city. Thank you. Okay, so 200 buildings represents a third of the Coney Island city. Thank you very much. All of which would undoubtedly have gone into the teeth of a strong wind, but for the fact that Coney Island, with a high-pressure water system especially designed for fire protection, is better guarded against a disaster of this kind than any other similar resort in the world. It started in Hellgate. The fire was discovered in the tarred scaffoldings of Hellgate, a scenic railroad close to the entrance of Dreamland. 20 minutes after a frightened watchman had turned in 3 alarms, one after another, as fast as his thumbs could press the key, all dreamland. 10 acres of gaudy, closely packed buildings was one great blaze. The flames, urged by a strong wind, were visible for nearly 15 miles. Doesn't this sound like all the great fires of all the cities that have ever been described? Close to Hellgate, where the fire started, was the Bostock Animal Show, and nearer yet, the Infant Incubator, a charity nursery which were 6 wee infants and their attendants. The children were taken out of their little glass houses and rushed out of danger by the police. Then came the work of taking out the animals. Lions went wild. Animals perished. Yeah, I don't even want to talk about them killing a lion. But yes, a lion apparently went crazy, and 50 men fought among themselves for the glory of possessing one of his teeth. Oh my goodness, how disgusting. So yeah, $50,000 railroad destroyed. The scenic railroad built by Chicago investors, which would have been opened tomorrow, was among the structures destroyed. So that's interesting. So Chicago investors, okay, Chicago, a town built on corruption. I mean, it was built to, help hide Capone's cars going up buildings and stuff. And they put in a $50,000 scenic railroad, which was going to be opening in the next day. So that's a little interesting. I'm thinking that's a bit of an insurance thing going on there, adding to, the destruction of a beautiful city, of Coney Island City, as they say. So let's have a quick look at Hell's, what was it? Wasn't Hell's Gate. Yes, it was Hellgate. Sorry, Hellgate, Coney Island. I just want to show you guys what Hellgate looked like. So there's Hellgate. And that's what. So before that was called the submarine boat. And they turned submarine boat into Hellgate later on, I am assuming. Or maybe there were two identical parts of that building, and one was Hellgate and one was the other one, the submarine. Anyway, guys, I just found that very interesting. I want to just describe to you. So this was again, sorry, this was Dreamland that was only open for 7 years, apparently, 1904 to 1911. All right, guys, that was just a little addendum. Thanks for listening. Stay warm. God bless.